You go on a first date with someone. What habit or characteristic is a deal breaker? Spending the whole time on their phone. Modified version. They always seem to be on their phone but never reply to you. I had that once. This girl I was seeing would always be texting on her phone but would like hours to reply to my messages. They only want to talk about themselves. I once had a 2-hour blind date. By the end, I knew everything about this girl. I knew all of her cats by name and what their favorite movies were. She asked me literally nothing and just kept jumping from topic to topic. At the end of the date, she wanted to trade numbers, and I couldn't help but ask what's my name, and she didn't know. So I just paid for my meal and left. I'm sorry. Her cats had favorite movies? I'm imagining you going over to her place and a tabby rubs against your foot. Oh. You must be Matilda, who loves natural born crullers. Good choice. Oh. And is that Randolph? You really couldn't think of anything better than snakes on a plane? I've seen being rude to wait staff a dozen times in here. Are that many people rude to waiters? No. Source, am waiter. I'd say roughly 1/200 people are actually rude. Especially without reason. Now I do also believe people are generally more rude to waitress, but that is my experience. I was going to say, where do you work where the ratio is that low? But waiter vs waitress makes sense. Although I hadn't really considered it. Former female server. And I'd say my numbers were more like 1 in 20. That number might be skewed by negative experience taking up memory. Though. And most people aren't screaming for the manager rude, but just treating you like you're not a human in general. Followed by a poor tip is the average bad customer. Constantly talking about their exes. I feel like there's a balance needed. For my Sue and I, we were upfront about weird issues we brought with us from past relationships. Everyone has baggage. You gotta be able to talk about it so your new boo won't be confused when something unimportant to them stresses you out completely. I know there are things that would have really annoyed me, boo, because we talked about our past relationship issues. It was a lot easier to grow past it and be better with one another. They talk over me and spend the conversation giving me unsolicited advice about how to live my life. Edit. I feel like I need to specify that I was thinking of one specific first date that did not become a second date when I answered this. Lol. The guy didn't like that I had dyed my hair blonde at the bottom and spent a lot of the date telling me about the dangers of bleaching your hair and how I should learn to make better choices. I just wanted to have a good dinner, man. Terrible haiku. But what did I expect? Someone who makes me read their bad poetry. This has happened to me more than once. Have you tried Vaughan poetry? It is out of this world. On their phone the whole time. If you can't disconnect for an hour or so to engage with me, then it's not going to work. Right? I'm on a date as I'm reading this entire thread and I can't believe how much of it I agree with. This itch keeps tutting and clearing her throat loudly and I don't know why. Learn some manners. Too much discussion about money. Not a date. But first time meeting my current GF's friends. The one's first question to me was, so what do you do for a living? How much do you make? I've never forgotten it and haven't cared for her since that moment. That actually happened to me once and it was the first and only time I walked out of a date. I was just finishing university and got drinks with this girl and her first question was about what I was doing for work and how much I was making. I had used to work 2 part-time jobs before this, but quit both of them when my online business took off. She must have thought I was lying or it was some rinky-dink thing I was doing, despite me explaining in detail what I did. She then asked in a hostile way if I had any plans for the future with my life and I told her that I was applying for a few jobs since it was my final 3 months of school and she cut me off and went, so you have no plans with your future is basically what you're saying. Thankfully, I had a $50 bill in my pocket. So I reached in and slapped it on the table and just said, enjoy the french fries and walked right out, lol. I get that a lot of people get nervous and misspeak on first dates. But there is no reason to be rude to someone like this. Doing this also greatly added to my confidence, and it serves as a reminder that no matter how bad a date goes, I'll always walk away completely fine. Edit. What award speech? Thinking. I was once set up to go on a blind date with this girl. We were given each other's email addresses, and so I hit her up. We exchanged a few pleasantries. Then set up a date time to finally meet. The day of, I get an email from her in the morning with an attachment. I open up the attachment and there is a questionnaire with like 25-30 questions on it. She requested I kindly fill out the questionnaire before we meet. I quickly reviewed the questions before sending her a reply saying that it's probably best we don't meet. I don't know what characteristic she embodied, but I'd say that was a deal breaker. What kind of questions were they? I don't recall the exact questions, as it was a long time ago. But I do remember some were as innocuous as dog or cat. But others required further explanation, like who is your favorite person in the world? What has she done to make you like them so much? It was insane. I've had job interviews that were less thorough. When she puts a smoke out in her baked potato. Or mayo. I'm assuming there's a story behind this. He was still hungry and wanted to finish the baked potato. She done gone and ruined it. Lying. Even, if not especially, about small things. I was once told that someone had gone down a hill on their bike so fast a speed camera clocked them at 234 miles per hour. Ignoring that, that's faster than the world record on a bike. Why? Why are you making this up? Zero opinions on anything. If I'm going to date someone, I want some sort of brains or passion going on up there. This is probably where I will fail the most. Politics. 0. Religion. 0. Sports. Nada. Popular TV shows. Probably not. Only have a few passions and am capable of talking about them for hours non-stop if brought up. But other than that, I will only meet the bare minimum. I don't hate people who smoke particularly, but my parents smoked so much that I promised myself to never date someone who smoked. I used to smoke. I have been smoke free for 3.5 years now. It is amazing how different I smell. And how I never noticed. I don't know how non-smokers put up with being around me smoking all the time. They end up being 3 badgers in a trench coat. Right. I hate when that happens. Hygiene. In general. Edit. Yes. You guys. Lack of hygiene. But. Bad. Doesn't matter. If you got hygiene, I ain't doing it. If all they talk about is how bad all their exes are. If all your exes are psycho, the chances are the problem is you. If you meet an asshole in the morning, you met an asshole. If you meet assholes all day, you're the asshole. Raylan Givens. Children. I wish all the best to all the single parents in the world, but I am not signing up to be a step parent. As a single parent, I respect that you acknowledge this is a deal breaker. I wish people who feel that way would be more upfront. I'm a package deal and that's just not for everybody. Yes, exactly. If I ever needed to remarry for any reason, I would actually be seeking someone that had kids. They would just get what my life is like. Lying about their appearance. Very specific app example. Guess which one? But you see their pictures. They look nice and then they are different in person. What's the point? As a rule, if they have dog ears, a butterfly halo, or are puking a rainbow, what you see isn't what you'll get. There are so many Tinder profiles where girls will have 3 pictures. All selfies. All with dog ears, big cartoony eyes and heavy Snapchat filters. It makes it way too obvious that you're trying to hide something. And even if you're not, then that's weird lol. Getting so drunk on the first date that you can't figure out Uber and I have to drive you home. No. You can't stay on my couch. I don't know you. I did this once. That relationship ended up lasting 2 years though. Was going to just be a hookup. My first time doing that, so I got drunk to not be nervous. Got too drunk. He took me back to his house and out me in pajamas and fed me pizza and held my hair while I puked. I thought he would never want to see me again. But he was cool about it. Someone who doesn't ask about me. It shows that they don't actually care. I was so nervous that when he asked something, I would just talk about myself and I forgot to ask anything about him. Noticed it the second we ended the date. But we had a second one. I did get to ask him about himself and well, I really wish I hadn't. Heavy breathing. Open mouth chewer or close-minded. So taking the stairs is a bad idea? I watched a monster eat a Caesar salad with her mouth wide open. It was impressive but absolutely gross. Within 20 minutes of that date I knew where her vibrator and weed were stored at her parents' place in her room and that she made $240 every 2 weeks. I can smell her through this comment. Yuck. Oh. I have another. If a person tells you they are in love with you after one day together, they might try to move into your house. Then try to attack you when you ask them to leave. Asking me 0 questions about myself while talking incessantly about themselves. It's alarming how many dudes do this. Why bother going on a date with another human if all you want is to hear yourself talk? Mutual friends of mine tell me this girl I'd been chatting with on Facebook a bit really likes me. We were having interesting conversations and she was very interested in me. Asking me about my life and interests and shit. I'm like, awesome. I'll see if she wants to get food. They tell her I'm interested before I can do that and the girl asks me out on a date. Like super excited for us to get together. She shows up looking almost angry to be there wearing a giant thick coat that wraps around her. It was April. We go to the pizza place and order some food. She is constantly on her phone texting someone and talking about the cats she owns. Literally the entire time. I wish I was exaggerating. The food arrived. She took a piece of pizza and started eating it without putting the phone down or looking at me or shutting up about her cats. I'm polite and engaging while subtly trying to talk about anything else. But before long I get the impression that she just wants me to react to these cat stories. Get back to my place. I'm done with this whole thing. I tell her have a good night. Good luck with the cats and chat with me later if she wants. Never hear from her again. The mutual friends tell me she said I spent the entire date staring at her bobs. I don't understand any of it. Even 13 years later 0 out of 10. Reminding me of my dad. I love my dad. Honestly. But I don't want to date him. D. When I met my wife's dad the first time I realized I was pretty much the complete opposite of him. My sister dated guys that were the complete opposite as well. But unfortunately for her our dad is really nice and cool, so she dated a lot of assholes. She ended up with a guy who has a personality a lot like our dad while looking or sounding nothing at all like him. My coworker, Otto, is currently upset that her daughter is dating an older guy who looks and acts just like her father. And has the same profession. If they order shots, I always do brunch as a first date because it places 0 expectation on what happens after. So, if you order ducking shots at 11:30 AM on a Saturday, we probably aren't going to work out. Appropriate username. If they're going out with me, that's the deal breaker right there. Shows severe lack of judgment on their part. Honey, I'd like a divorce. You failed the test. You slept with me on no less than 773 occasions. Married me. And procreated 2 admittedly beautiful children with me. All of these demonstrate a severe lack of judgment on your part. Also, is that cousin of yours that lives in Vermont still single? Anyone who doesn't understand why a first meeting in public is best for women. But then how am I supposed to wear her skin as a jacket next week? Wearing a necklace made up of hair and severed fingers from each of your previous dates. That'll about do it for me. What about their mummified severed penises? The amount of guys who think negging is a good flirting technique is ridiculous. Contrary to what you read on WikiHow, insulting a girl doesn't make her want to impress you. It just makes her realize you're a big dick. One guy I matched with on Tinder asked me for my Snapchat and when I gave it to him he said, Oh, I don't want it. I'm not attracted. Wouldn't want to go on a date or anything disgusting like that. He was trying to flirt, but it was an instant turn off. I'm not here to be insulted or put down, and being rude isn't cute.